Okay, peeps. Well, got some epoxy primer on this door, and it's pretty unbelievable how nice this door. There's no filler work yet. None. And there's very little to be done. This is just my bare metal work with a coat of epoxy on it. Pretty amazing. Very little body work as far as filler. Amazing. Shows you good metal work and good prep work. Goes a long way to saving you a lot of time in doing filler work. Okay, peeps, we're going to get one more coat on, and then we should be able to get this back on the car in a day or two and keep moving on. Hey peeps, Q here, Perfection Speed and Sport, down at the smallest body shop ever. So I'm getting ready to do some filler work on this door that you saw, where I did all the metal work, I made the edges, so forth. The door's been stripped down to bare metal and finished with 80 grit on the DA. And what you're looking at here, this is my epoxy primer that I put on yesterday. And I'm going to be doing my filler work on top of the epoxy. And there's been so much controversy about, doing filler work. It should be done on bare metal. It should be done on 36 grit scratches. It's just, a lot of the information out there is wrong and just doesn't make sense. And I'm not going to get involved in that whole controversy. I just know from real world experience and doing this for about 30 years, every time that I've stripped a car down to bare metal and there's been filler work, especially stuff that's old and where the filler will crack or it gets permeated with moisture, I've always noticed that where the rust starts, it's always underneath the filler. And like I'm saying, I've stripped enough cars in my lifetime that that's been my experience. And it just makes perfect sense to me that you should seal the metal, and especially with today's technology and all the products we have, there's no reason not to seal the metal and do your work on top of the epoxy. Epoxy is basically a corrosion protection and a sealer. And like I'm saying, it's always been my experience that everything I've ever stripped down, I've always seen rust underneath the filler. And I also know that, this particular car that I'm working on, now that car sat for the last almost 4 years. It was in this tent here, and all it had was a car cover on it. And all the work that I did, and everything sealed in epoxy, and everything done with rust bullet, no rust at all on all that work. So, that's good enough proof for me. Anyway, so I'm getting ready here to go ahead and do my filler work. And I thought I'd show you guys a really neat tool that I use for doing door panels like this. And it's called the blade. And what they are, they're basically long, flexible. I mean, there's different flexibilities. You have 1, 2, and 3. And basically, that's the stiffness of this blade. So 1 is kind of flexible, 2 is not so flexible, and 3, well, sorry, it's the other way around. It's 1 is the stiffest, 2 medium, and 3 would be your most flexible. And they have a Teflon lining. And this particular tool here saves a ton of time. I've used them quite often. I've never showed using them, but yeah, really, really nice tool. You spread your filler on the panel, and then this will actually contour, let you just pull a really nice contour of the filler, and it saves a lot of time, and it saves also multiple coats of filler when you're trying to fill something. So yeah, I thought I'd show you this tool. I'm going to show you how I use it. They're not cheap, but you know what good tools aren't cheap. And yeah, really nice tool to use. So you know what I'm going to be doing here, I kind of put some tape because I don't want any filler on this body line, because then I've got to go ahead. This line is really in perfect condition. You know, this just has a couple of little dings here and there. I've metal worked them out. Show car finish, pretty much every show car that you ever see, you got to skim coat the whole panel and block sand it in order to get it 110%. So yeah, moving along on this, like I said, the door's all stripped. It's all in epoxy. Came out really nice. All finished in 80 grit. And I'm going to go ahead and put my skim coat on. Alright guys, we'll be back in a minute and I'll show you how this blade works. Okie dokie, here we go. And that's the story. Just gonna come in a little bit here on this edge. So we're starting to harden up a little. I always like to have a little extra on the edge here. That's the story, man. Now I'll probably be able to get this one coat, and that'll be that. So I'm gonna go clean up my tools, and it's just as simple as that, guys. It really works really nice. I'll be able to sand that out, and now I'm going to go ahead and do up here once this is dry. All right, man.